August 18, 2013, Maple Glen Hospice just outside San Antonio, Texas. A nurse hears the words no one expects from a man with no known past. His final breath is a confession. I killed 4 people. 2 in 76, 1 in 89, and a girl in 97. The man says it calmly. No name, no remorse, just a list. And then, silence. He dies seconds later. His hospital bracelet reads, John Doe intake 04731, unknown, no ID, no birth certificate, no fingerprints on file. For over a decade, staff only knew him as Mr. Ellis, a name he whispered once and never repeated. Dr. Lorraine Diaz, hospice administrator, gave this statement. He came in 2002. No one claimed him, no medical history, no insurance, but he was articulate, polite, and utterly untraceable. But now, with his deathbed confession, the story begins. Detective Saul Rivas, San Antonio PD, reviews the case. Transcript from hospice nurse Marla Jenkins. He said one was buried under a white cross in El Dorado, Arkansas, another in a crawl space in Lafayette, and one thrown into a river with cinder blocks. No names, no details, just locations and years. Investigators head to El Dorado first. Satellite mapping reveals an old church site torn down in 1992. But in satellite archives from 1996, a small hand-built white cross is visible near a tree line. Ground-penetrating radar confirms it. A body, buried 6 feet down. No coffin, no ID, just a rusted silver pendant around the neck, and a broken wristwatch, stopped at 3:47 a.m. female, estimated age 19. Cause of death blunt force trauma. No match in any missing persons case. The man was right, someone was there. But who? And how did he know? Detectives next head to Lafayette, Louisiana. Old city permits show that 221 Johnson Avenue had a crawl space until 1991, when it was cemented over. Current homeowner gives access. Jackhammers peel through concrete. The stench is immediate. They find bones, ribcage intact, a femur shattered, one gold earring embedded in dirt. Dental records yield no match. But the earring, linked to a 1989 missing persons report, Cassandra Rowe, age 33, went missing after leaving a bar 3 blocks away. Case was closed due to lack of leads, now reopened because of a man who doesn't exist. Next, the Brazos River near Waco, Texas. Divers scour the west bank under an old truss bridge. They find cinder blocks, rope, fragments of a floral dress, but no body. The Texas Department of Public Safety runs facial reconstruction on recovered remains. No matches. Again, 3 cases, 3 near-verifiable sites, and a man who claimed them, but had no name, no origin, no record. FBI becomes involved. They scan every known alias, every military registry, every fingerprint database. Nothing, not even a partial match. The nurse, Marla Jenkins, gives one more chilling detail. He looked straight at me and said, "They never found the one in Minnesota." But there's no record of a Minnesota case tied to these methods. No known connection, no missing woman matching any known pattern. Police request facial recognition based on hospice security footage. Facial map sent to Interpol and international agencies. Result, no match on Earth. So who was Mr. Ellis? Was he a drifter with a memory, or a man trained to disappear? One nurse recalls him speaking Russian in his sleep. Another caught him whittling Morse code into his bedpost. One message translated to, "I waited for them to find me." No next of kin ever stepped forward. No tax records, no social, no evidence he was ever born. And yet, he led police to 3 victims no one knew were missing. All buried, all forgotten, until he spoke. And now, authorities are asking the public for help. Who was the girl buried under the white cross? Was she the first? Or just one of many? And perhaps the most disturbing question of all, how does a man confess to murder and still not exist? This is Vanished Whispers True Crime, where the forgotten are brought to light. Subscribe for weekly deep dives into real cases that refuse to stay buried. Gap-2.75s. The investigation takes a darker turn. Police interview former staff at Maple Glen Hospice. Transcript from orderly James Harlan. He never slept. Sometimes I'd see him staring at the window, whispering names I didn't recognize. Another nurse, Carla Ruiz, recalls, he'd asked for newspapers from the 70s, said he was looking for someone. Police transcript, Detective Saul Rivas. We found a box under his bed. Inside, clippings of unsolved murders all across the Midwest, each one marked with a red X. Forensic report. A single hair found on the silver pendant, DNA inconclusive, but not a match to John Doe. The evidence grows, but so do the questions. Who was he watching for? And why did he keep these secrets for decades? Voiceover. Gap-2.75s. Weeks after his death, police receive an anonymous letter. Inside, coordinates to a remote cabin in northern Minnesota. Detectives arrive to find the cabin burned to the ground. In the ashes, a charred journal. The last entry reads, "They're coming. I hear them at night. I am not alone." No fingerprints, no trace of the author. The case file remains open. The man who confessed still has no name. And somewhere, another secret waits to be found. The story ends, but the mystery deepens. Was he a killer or a messenger for the forgotten? The truth, it seems, died with him. The camera pans across a dimly lit interview room. A trembling witness recounts the night of the incident, voice quivering as they describe a shadowy figure slipping through the alley. Their account is fragmented, punctuated by nervous glances and long pauses. The tension in the room is palpable, every word adding to the growing sense of unease. Over a backdrop of flickering police station lights, the narrator reads from official transcripts. Officers debate inconsistencies in the suspect's story, their voices tense. The transcript reveals a chilling detail, a timeline that doesn't add up, and a confession that seems rehearsed. The audience is left questioning what's real and what's fabricated. The screen flickers with grainy surveillance footage, each frame revealing just a sliver of the truth. Close-ups of evidence bags marked, sealed, and mysterious fade in and out. The narrator's voice is steady, yet tinged with unease. A blood-stained letter, its message smeared and nearly illegible, is tagged as Exhibit A. Forensic teams pore over fingerprints found at the scene, but none match any known records. The silence is broken only by the replay of a mysterious phone call, received just moments before the confession. The caller's identity remains unknown, their words cryptic and unsettling. Each piece of evidence only deepens the puzzle, pulling us further from certainty. The truth, it seems, is more elusive than ever. As the evidence piles up, the mystery grows darker, leaving us with more questions than answers. Beneath the surface of suspicion lies a story seldom told. We turn now to the life of the main suspect, an individual marked not just by accusation but by a lifetime of hardship and hidden scars. Archival photos flicker across the screen, a childhood home crumbling at the edges. A faded family portrait with faces blurred by time, school records stamped with the word absent. The suspect's early years were shadowed by loss, an absent parent, a sibling lost to tragedy. Each setback forged a resilience but also left wounds that never fully healed. Friends recall a quiet soul, quick to help others, yet burdened by secrets they never dared to share. As the years wore on, financial struggles mounted, opportunities slipped away, and trust became a rare commodity. A diary entry appears, words trembling with vulnerability. Sometimes I wonder if the world remembers the good, or only the mistakes we make. Old voicemails play, apologies left unsent, pleas for understanding echoing into the void. The suspect's motives, once painted in simple shades of guilt, now reveal a spectrum of desperation, hope, and regret. As we glimpse these hidden struggles, the line between innocence and guilt blurs. The evidence may point in one direction, but the heart of this mystery beats with the complexity of a life lived in the shadows. The truth, it seems, is never as simple as it appears. In every investigation, there comes a moment when the path forward is anything but clear. For lead investigator Detective Harris, that moment has arrived. Surveillance footage flickers on screen. Harris alone in the precinct, the glow of a desk lamp illuminating lines of case files and evidence pinned to the wall. His eyes linger on a photograph of the suspect, then dart to a handwritten note. Follow the facts, not your feelings. But the facts, Harris knows, only tell part of the story. As he pores over transcripts and timelines, a nagging hunch refuses to be silenced, a detail overlooked, a pattern just out of reach. Protocol demands restraint, adherence to the chain of evidence. Yet Harris's instincts whisper that the truth lies beyond the official narrative. Cut to Harris, pacing the darkened hallway, his reflection fractured in the glass. The phone in his hand trembles as he considers making an unauthorized call to a witness who might hold the missing piece. His conscience is a battlefield, duty to the law on one side, the pursuit of justice on the other. A montage of quick cuts, Harris hesitating at a locked evidence room, glancing over his shoulder before jotting notes in a private journal, the ticking of a clock echoing in the background. The weight of his decision presses down, not just on the case, but on his own sense of integrity. In this pivotal moment, the investigation teeters on the edge. The choices Harris makes now could either expose the truth or bury it forever. The tension mounts, leaving us to wonder, will he follow the rules or trust his gut and risk everything? As the screen fades to black, the question lingers. What would you do, standing at the crossroads of conscience? Just when the investigation seems suffocated by uncertainty, a knock echoes through the quiet precinct. Detective Harris, lost in thought, looks up as a shadowy figure hesitates in the doorway. The camera lingers on the visitor's face. Familiar, yet almost forgotten, Mrs. Evelyn Carter, a retired nurse who lived across the street from the crime scene, mentioned briefly in early reports and then dismissed as irrelevant. A close-up of Mrs. Carter's trembling hands as she clutches a faded envelope. Her voice, quiet but resolute, breaks the silence. "Detective Harris, I remembered something. I wasn't sure if it mattered before, but after seeing the news, I can't stay silent." Harris's eyes narrow, hope and skepticism warring within him. The music swells, tension mounting. Cut to a flashback, Mrs. Carter peering through her window on the night in question. Her memory, fractured but vivid, reveals a figure lingering near the back gate, someone overlooked in all previous accounts. The camera pans to a distinctive piece of jewelry glinting in the moonlight, matching that worn by a person the team had never considered a suspect. Back in the present, Harris gently opens the envelope. Inside, a time-stamped photograph Mrs. Carter snapped that night, clear evidence placing the new suspect at the scene. Harris's voice barely above a whisper, "This changes everything." Quick cuts. Harris pinning the new photograph to the evidence board, timelines shifting, faces rearranged. The investigation, once at a standstill, surges forward in a new, electrifying direction. As the music builds, the screen fades to black on Harris's determined gaze. The case is far from over, and nothing is as it seemed. The precinct is shrouded in a heavy silence as Detective Harris stands before the evidence board, every photograph and timeline now connected by Mrs. Carter's long-hidden photograph. The camera lingers on the faces of those swept up in the case. The grieving family, the accused, the silent witnesses, each one forever changed by the night in question. A montage unfolds. Harris revisiting the scene, his footsteps echoing through the empty alley, retracing the path illuminated by Mrs. Carter's memory. He stops at the very spot where the distinctive jewelry was last seen. The truth, once blurred by doubt and fear, now comes sharply into focus. Cut to the interrogation room. Harris faces the man who confessed on his deathbed, his frail form a stark contrast to the weight of his words. With gentle persistence, Harris presents the photograph, the recovered piece of jewelry. The man's eyes fill with tears, the burden of years spent protecting someone else finally overwhelming him. In a trembling voice, the man reveals the truth. He confessed to shield his own son who was manipulated by the real perpetrator, a trusted family friend whose guilt was masked by a web of lies and misplaced loyalty. Flashbacks interweave, showing the son's anguish, the friend's subtle coercion, and the silent complicity that allowed the truth to remain hidden for so long. As dawn breaks, Harris walks out of the precinct, the case file finally closed. He passes Mrs. Carter, who stands in the sunlight, her relief palpable. The son, now free from suspicion, embraces his mother, both weeping with gratitude and regret. The camera pulls back, revealing the neighborhood, once haunted by secrets, now bathed in the quiet promise of healing. Harris, changed by the journey, gazes at the horizon, the weight of justice and mercy balanced within him. Sometimes the truth is buried deep beneath the surface, waiting for courage, compassion, and the willingness to listen. As the music swells, the screen fades to black, leaving only the echo of hard-won redemption and the hope that the past can finally rest. As the dust finally settles, a heavy silence hangs in the air. Every secret, every lie exposed beneath the harsh light of truth. The confession sends shockwaves through the town, shattering old certainties and forcing everyone to confront what they thought they knew. Detective Harris, burdened by sleepless nights and haunted by doubt, approaches the son, his footsteps echoing with the weight of unfinished business. The young man sits alone, his body tense, every muscle coiled with guilt and desperate hope. His hands tremble violently as he clings to the photograph, the fragile thread that unraveled his world. Harris sits beside him, not as an accuser, but as a man who knows the cost of secrets. Their words stumble, choked by emotion, each syllable a struggle, each silence a scream. The son's confession pours out in a torrent, his voice cracking under the weight of nightmares and shame. He relives the sleepless nights, the suffocating shame, the years spent hiding in the shadow of a crime he never meant to conceal. Every step he took was haunted by the fear that the truth would destroy him. Harris listens, his own eyes brimming with the pain of choices that can never be undone. He shares his own regrets, cases that haunt his dreams, mistakes that carved scars into his conscience. The ghosts of unsolved cases flicker in his memory, blurring the line between justice and mercy. He knows now, justice is never as clear as it seems, and mercy is sometimes the only way forward. Meanwhile, Mrs. Carter, trembling with a mix of dread and resolve, seeks out the family friend. The door opens. She faces the man who shattered her family, the true perpetrator now unmasked. Her voice trembles, not with rage but with heartbreak, demanding the truth, desperate for closure. The friend collapses, his lies crumbling. He sobs, broken by the weight of his own guilt. In a moment of raw, shattering vulnerability, he confesses, his voice barely a whisper, admitting to manipulation born of desperation and jealousy. The truth at last is laid bare. He is taken into custody, the final act of a tragedy that has consumed so many lives. But before he leaves, he turns, tears streaming down his face, offering a broken apology to those he destroyed. Night falls. The community gathers, candles trembling in the wind, at the sight of the tragedy. Faces glow with grief, but also with the fragile hope that comes from facing the darkness together. Old wounds are bared. Forgiveness hesitantly offered. The son steps forward, his voice trembling, every eye upon him. He confesses his mistakes, his fear, and the courage it took to finally speak the truth. Tears fall, some for pain, some for relief, as the crowd embraces, united by shared suffering and the first glimmers of healing. Words of reconciliation ripple through the crowd, fragile but real. Detective Harris stands at the edge, watching, his heart pounding with the enormity of what's past. For the first time in years, a quiet peace settles over him, a sense that at last something broken has begun to mend. He knows justice is imperfect, but tonight, redemption feels possible. The camera rises, tension dissolving into the first light of dawn. The city skyline glows, bathed in the promise of a new day. The story closes not with vengeance, but with the hard-won echo of forgiveness. A reminder that even the deepest wounds can heal, if we dare to face the truth. In the end, hope breaks through, fragile, luminous, unstoppable. And as the sun rises, we are left with the knowledge that redemption is possible, if only we have the courage to seek it.